Bum, bum. All right, we got to cut that better right there. What up? This is Myron, and you are listening or watching the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast. That down on the docks, on the other side of the tracks, 5-star dive bar of and about your beloved Seattle Mariners. And listen, wherever you're getting that, we don't care as long as you're liking and subscribing, especially right here on YouTube. It's real easy. Just hit that subscribe button. We'll cater to your notifications on there. Get the notifications if you want. If you don't, whatever. We've made this shit real simple. Also, if you are looking for the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast gear, you want that street cred for rocking the rye bread. You know you do. Hit up at simply.cora. That's at simply.cora on Instagram or Etsy. Also, go check out In the Clutch for all your other MLB, NBA, NFL, WNBA, who else we forget? Major League Baseball apparel at In the Clutch. Put / Rye Bread and Mustard. Save yourself a whole lot of money. I heard it's a whole lot. Anyways, today we got Hanno, of course, with me up in Edmonds. We also got Big Vladdy Daddy, the guy you know from probably, let's get a big picture of you on here. You know this mug from the current Verizon commercial. You know the Christmas. Oh, there it is. You know you need the coffee stain on your beard for everybody to really be like, oh, that's him. Yeah, on your mustache. Yeah.
What's going on?
Nothing much. So winter meetings have concluded. That's where we left off right before this. We were going to do an episode during the winter meetings, and we were like, maybe something big will happen and we'll miss it for the Mariners. So time was not wasted. Do we have the wake and bake baseball thing up on the screen? Oh, there we go. Yeah. So it has concluded going into it. Of course, the big story, Juan Soto. We also saw the Yankees get their hearts ripped out, but then rebound with a big signing of Max Fried. And that's pretty much all that really happened. Oh, what else do we have? The trade to Boston, right? Those are the big three, right?
Yeah, Crochet to Boston. I think the Yankees were going to try to sign Fried anyways. So I don't think that was the answer back, but it looks like they got a couple other things in the works. I think the other big news is somehow Kyle Tucker is available. And
yeah,
definitely a move.
Yeah, we kept seeing these rumors about him being available. Then we saw what are those guys? The Marine Layer guys that have been spinning this scenario where the Mariners are going to get Kyle Tucker. I'm gonna shut that shit down right now. That's not happening. Hannah, what do you think about that?
Oh yeah, it's not happening, but I will agree with him. It'd be a great player to have. I mean, 1 year left on his deal, so you would get him for a full year. Obviously, he would never sign back with Seattle, but the teams are looking at him. I've heard is New York, obviously, and the Cubbies. So, pretty interesting there that he's even available. So they could lose possibly him and Bregman. Wild times in H-Town.
Yeah, well, I guess it's all based on the fact that they won't sign anybody for. I heard it was 5 years, but it looks like they have done 6 years. It's a great business policy, but in the modern age of keeping big dogs, I mean, these guys Soto just signed for 15 years. Most people are looking for 10 years minimum. Free just got 8. But I think the Yankees. Read that they throw the extra year in just to bring the average salary down, so they're willing to figure that out. You guys have had some success with the rentals. Castillo was a rental, wasn't he?
No, he was a trade.
No, but they got him. He was going to be a free agent and re-signed.
Yeah, with just a little bit left on his deal. Yeah, you're exactly right, and they were able to re-sign him. Big deal. Mariners only go after those kind of players, it seems like, though, where they feel that they have a chance to go and sign these guys after trading for them. And I mean, Castillo's deal was a massively friendly deal for the club. I mean, he's very underpaid compared to what everything else is going on. So,
and now they're trying to burn him on that deal and turn around and flip him.
Mariner way.
From 2 hours ago says the Mariners can't even hang up the phone because of the calls they're getting for Castillo.
Yeah, hopefully it brings some offense. What do you think, Myron?
Oh, I think we lost you.
Oh, this is the best part of the show. We can't even hear him.
We lost you. I'll say this.
Oh no, sorry, I had it muted. Yes, I was like screaming if you watched me on there. Anyways, I'm talking about Castillo, right? I'm against this whole thing. They can answer as many phone calls. They can have as much dirty talk on the phone that they want. I just look at the Mariners and I go, what is their strength? Of course, there is a way to get hitting. Spend a little bit more money. You do have a lot of resources in the pipeline that can help you do this. You just picked up another awesome draft pick, and I know everybody wants to hold on to that, top 3 draft pick. I'm sure I get it, but I also think about Dustin Ackley getting picked up at number 2. That's why I say that. But to trade Luis Castillo and do what? You look at the market for all these other veteran pitchers, and you look at Castillo's contract. It's pretty fair. It's actually pretty damn good. I know you could go, well, you could get that Sasaki guy, which we were talking about in previous episodes. Sure, but I think a lot of people are forgetting this guy's not going to decide anything until January 15th, even though he's, going around and hearing offers. He's playing The Bachelor, right now. Somebody's going to get the rose. But so you're saying if Castillo is going to get traded anyways, this probably wouldn't be until after that. And we've had so many injuries. We've been so lucky with the no injuries to the pitching over the last few years. Somebody's going to get hurt. It's just, I'm sorry. The amount of innings, the tread on the tires. Of course I would like to have Sasaki. I think the 6-man rotation would be the way to go. But yeah, it seems like this is out there, and obviously Castillo knows that it's out there. He's the one with the no trade clause. It's going to be interesting how he reacts to this.
I would also throw this in the mix. Right now, the American League is wide open. The Yankees, bad fundamental team made the World Series. And even though they lost 4-1, they could have easily won a couple of those games. Anybody could win right now. Houston's been, now they're about to be super demoralized. They had a rough year. They came on at the end, but still short, and they're almost destined to lose Bregman. Who knows if this Tucker thing's going to happen? It sounds like it. Everybody's been screaming about the Orioles, and they can't get it together, and they're probably going to lose Burns. I could see Burns. You got to figure San Francisco just lost Snell, and they threw him a huge deal a year ago. So why wouldn't they throw Burns a huge deal? They can't seem to get anybody unless they're throwing the money around, and the Angels are, a non-factor. So your guys' division is wide open. And you guys have the skeleton of a good team. So I would just assume you should be adding. And even if he gets Sasaki, I mean, yeah, you want more. You need a lot of pitching. You could sign a bat, which is it sounds like Torres is. I think it said the Angels and Seattle were the teams that I've talked to him so far.
Hannah?
Yeah, I mean, it all sounds great. I agree with you, Myron, about Castillo. I mean, in an ideal situation, and the way the Mariners explained the way they're building this up, they were going to build it up and then add the last final pieces. But they just aren't in that. They just can't right now. They're strapped for cash. They don't have the money to spend. It's been reported they have about $15 to $16 million to spend this offseason. They're talking, we've thrown around those first basemen that we were talking about that could fill in, big club guys, good in the clubhouse, the Turners, the Santanas. Heard the beat guys talking about the Mariners are hoping to sign maybe Santana in the next week, and that's probably around $5-6 million. So then that leaves them with about $10 million with at least two other holes and positions of need at second and third. So I agree with all your guys is saying. Yeah, it'd be nice to add like a real bat and really make this team take the next step, but it's just not going to happen. It's so sad.
Well, that takes Bellinger out of the Seattle.
It takes everybody.
Well, I mean, but there is some guys but there is people looking to unload. Trying to just get rid of a player. So like Arenado, I know he had his list came out, but
we're not on it. Seattle's not on that list.
Yeah, but that could change. I mean, half the teams that are on that list I guarantee aren't interested. But I'm just saying there are players that are available that the other teams are like, take this guy, we'll pay for him type of situation. So it just seems like I think this might be the craziest offseason we've seen in a while. There's a lot going on. You don't usually hear this much. I mean,
there's a lot going on, but there's not a lot of movement going on. There's not a lot of movement. I think last year was the craziest.
But look at the trade talk has now outshined the free agents. When was the last time you seen that?
I mean, that's a good point, I guess. There is a lot of stories. I mean, let's look. You just Google, let's just put in
Crochet.
Yeah, or Cody Bellinger. Yeah, it's a million things. You got the Yankees, you got the Mariners. I just don't think
Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker.
I'm just saying there's a lot of talk. There's just a lot of guys like all of a sudden you turn around and now Soto signs with the Mets and now all of a sudden everybody's on the block. Castillo, he wasn't on the block 2 days ago.
Well, that's the reason it's so.
Go ahead, Hannah.
I was going to say that's why it's so advantageous for these clubs. You mentioned everybody's calling them. He's a heck of a pitcher. He posts every year. He gives you 30 starts. 27 of them will be great. He'll have a couple clunkers in there, but that's just awesome. And he's only on the hook for $73 million for 3 years. I mean, that's just a bargain for these clubs that want him. And the Mariners need the money to go out and add to their offense. It just makes all the sense in the world, and it's just unfortunate the M's just can't make that next step. Keep a player like him. They're always robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it stinks.
Yeah, it's like you're going out and you're having to sell one of your prized possessions. You're having to sell one of your hot rods. You have to sell your boat. I mean, like
your discount.
Yeah, and the deal that he has, it's a bargain, and it's held up, right? Like next year,
no arm trouble.
Yeah, no arm. Next year he does not have the no trade clause, so the Mariners could do whatever. So that's like another scenario that I'm wondering. Maybe you see him hold on to him this year, deal him next year, or deal him later in the season, because you still do have 2 years with this contract afterwards.
What's really interesting? Sorry to interrupt you. It's on the trade clause, and it was very interesting. Something I did not know. I heard sometimes clubs, either the club maybe that wants them or the club that's trading them, will actually pay a player $1 million for him to waive his no trade clause. So there's that option there to pay him off for it. Something I didn't even think of.
Yeah. Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be like if you want, especially for them, if they wanted to go there and you're getting $1 million to go where you want. I was, we'll give you $1 million to get rid of that trade clause. And he's like, fuck, I would have done it without the $1 million. But look at the teams that are interested in him too. There's no shitty team. I'm sure. Yes. Like you said, Vlad, everybody's calling, but Boston seems to be like the most serious one. And I think they were talking, who's I listened to, Morosi, and he was talking about a scenario where let's just hypothetically say they do trade with Boston. You're probably getting their first baseman, excuse me. What's his name? Costas. Him. And then maybe their second baseman, you're going to get a couple of players for him. But again, I just feel like you'll be in the same situation. Just like Hanno says, like, we're paying Peter. What is it? Paying Peter to pay Paul, or we're stealing from Peter to pay Paul? What's Peter, robbing Peter to pay Paul? We'll be looking for something that down the road this season that we already had, just like last year when we were replacing what we had offensively in the outfield from Teoscar Hernandez, the same way that we had a huge hole at third base and we let Eugenio Suarez go. And look what he did. Arizona's re-signing him. So that is frustrating. Or I would say frustrating. That's what really scares me about this move or the move that could happen is this is a very Mariner-like thing, like you're saying, Hanno, to do.
Well, what about this? So now putting that into perspective, Castillo's $25 million plus the 15 that you said that they got to spend this year. That gives you $40 million to throw around.
So
maybe
so 30 million because you're picking up other players that you got to pay, but I don't think you're paying those guys. I'll look up their contracts while you make your point. Go ahead.
Well, I'm sure you'll get the cheap people or whatever. But maybe in that deal you get a third baseman or a first baseman, and then now you could go out and spend 15 on Torres or maybe Alonso can be had for 25.
Yeah, absolutely. You're on the right track, definitely. I mean, that's
and you still got a good rotation. If you get Sasaki, he costs nothing.
Yeah. That's in a perfect world if all the chips fall into place for the Mariners. If they're able to get Sasaki, I've kind of heard that the Mariners may be 3 on that list with San Diego and the Dodgers kind of in the lead. But, I mean, the Dodgers, they ruin every pitcher's arm. San Diego, it makes sense there, I guess. He said he'd go back east, but, it'd be quite a coup if he picked the Mariners. It'd be awesome. And then, Castillo traded, go get a big show pony, that's just awesome, aircraft carrier. And then, yeah, you mentioned plug in another person at second base. Yeah, it's looking pretty positive.
Yeah, but again, you have to get Sasaki to make any of these moves. I feel like if you make a move definitely right now for Castillo, which I'm against, you'd have to do that with knowing you were going to get this guy, because you can't afford to go out and get another frontline starter. They can't. It's pretty much that's their only option.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, Myron. Like the going rate, that makes sense. I mean, the market's so much higher now. I mean, Matt Boyd, a guy that would be like a perfect fifth starter, signed earlier on in this offseason for, I think, $30 million or something, or for 2 years, 15 a year. I mean, it's just incredible. I could be wrong. It could have been 20 for 2 years, but it doesn't matter. A 10 million for him, he's done well for himself getting that much cash.
Clay Holmes got 38 million to go be a starter. And he hasn't started since God knows when.
Yeah.
Again, that's so ballooned. Yeah, and that's another point of why would you want to trade this guy?
There is a lot of mid-level pitchers out there, but they still cost around 10 in the neighborhood of 10.
But I also get the frustration, and we would be frustrated. Last year was covering this team, doing this podcast. It was tough, right? And we pull up again just short of the gate of getting into the playoffs. And there's no other reason than offense. So I get that argument. We're done seeing that show. So it's just frustrating to go, now we got to trade a pitcher to make that happen when, again, Hannah, like you said, we've had those champagne promises
absolutely
about building around what we have. And when I look at the Mariners, I kind of equate it to the Seahawks, Luis Castillo was like the beast mode trade to me. He's like the center of hey, this is this better team. Sure, there was a good team around there. There was some all-star-ish player at that time, like a France, and you had a better JP Crawford, and you had Eugenio Suarez, and Julio comes onto the scene. But the first person to show up that was already a star and come in and make a huge impact was Luis Castillo, and just the vibe that he brought. And now you want to trade him, and now it's public. It's out there that you're taking calls on him. I just think I think even though I don't want it to happen, it's a very Mariners thing that's going to happen. I feel like it is going to happen now.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. And to take your Seahawk analogy, I mean, the Seahawks, which the Mariners don't do, and you explain that, I don't know if the timeline works out, but, they needed a pass rusher. They went out and got Javon Curse. They go get these players just to make them better, on these needs. So, but the Mariners don't. It's just like you mentioned, it's so heartbreaking and frustrating as a fan for the last, at least, 3 years with them saying we're ready to make the next moves. But we've been in this rebuild in their plan for 10 years and nothing's ever happened even yet. It's maddening.
It's also, it's not asking a lot to keep Castillo and add $40 million. If you have $40 million to spend without touching that, you have a shot at a playoff run in this American League.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the Mariners have, make the money they have, the fans that come to the gates every year, that really come out for this team, and they're just not willing to spend that extra money that they've made on their team and really do it for the fans. It's makes me mad. I don't even.
Well, that's why I think the Yankees are about to go nuts, because they see it that way too. Wow, we sleptwalked our way into the World Series. If we could just fix the holes we got, why wouldn't we be able to do it again?
Which is a good segue here. Let's go to a quick break and let's come back, because you talk about Yankees. You've been sitting here. We let you slide. We're going to come back. We got to get your thoughts on Juan Soto going to the Mets. We'll be back in 90. So they're in the midst of this losing streak, and the Mariners go, our 2025 spring training schedule has arrived. Check out the full slate of games in Arizona. This was their fucking post. They were showing the Cactus League schedule. This was their post. There was nobody in there just to go, I don't know, let's hold off on that one. We didn't even get into these comments. Great series, guys. I genuinely can't take it anymore. Looking forward to it since we won't be making the playoffs. Fire Service, fire Dipoto. Who the hell cares? Fire Service already. There needs to be a serious discussion about Scott Service right now. Lawrence Stewart says, Seattle Mariners, you got to love these guys, ... in Peoria.
Oh, God.
You gotta love new WWF figures with real wrestling action. Jake the Snake Roberts versus the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. Yeah. DiBiase lands a $1 million punch. Match Hulk Hogan against the Macho King Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah, my elbow smash will finish Hogan, guaranteed.
Hogan slams him again. Match Andre the Giant against the Ultimate Warrior. Andre will squash the Ultimate Maniac. WWF figures so close to the real thing, it's like being in the ring.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdome.
Take me to the ball game.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdome.
All right, Vlad, we let you slide. Now we got to hear about it. I know about it, you know, being a friend of yours. I know how you feel. I've seen you go through the ups and downs of not being able to have Juan Soto back, somebody that you really enjoyed on the team. It really got you back into believing in what the Yankees were doing. You get to the World Series last year. Seemed like a good fit, but it didn't work out. He's going across town to the Mets for way too fucking much. Take us through this.
Well, I'd say let me take it back a couple weeks. So as it was starting, my feelings were, if he's going anywhere else, I'll believe him when I see it. Wasn't too worried, and then about a week before he signed, I started feeling like once they started talking about the numbers and to being honest, I was like, man, for a long contract that is going to be bad eventually, and forcing Judge in center field, like, to me everything is about Judge. And we lost the World Series not from our pitching, not from our hitting. We lost from our ability to play baseball, our infield defense and our outfield defense and base running. And I was just like, man, well, this just locks up, because Soto won't DH, even if you have a spot for him. That's one thing we learned when Stanton went on the IL, is that Soto pretty much refuses to DH. So Judge DH'd instead. And, his defense, Soto's defense isn't great. In certain situations, you could live with all that. And all of that stuff aside, you figure, well, fuck it. It's just the perfect guy to slide in front of Judge. You have this unbelievable two-punch thing, and, we could figure it out, or you hope that the team could figure it out. And then as it got closer, and then, then I was completely sucked into it. And then, him going to the Mets, it really hurt until, then a couple days go by, and, you kind of, are starting to come down to earth. Like, wait a sec, we had him for 1 year. This isn't A-Rod or, this isn't some 5-tool guy. No, but it's not like some 5-tool guy that, the face of the franchise thing. And I think it's just kind of more the crosstown thing, just like, the Met fans getting their moment. But, you can't really knock Soto as a player, but it's not really knocking him, saying, like, I don't like the idea of, like, Judge in right field and building around that makes the team stronger. Yeah, I don't want him in center field longer. Now we're just kind of putting more wear and tear on him, and he's older. So I think he's 33 or turning 33. We do have a window where we really need to try to win one in the next 3 years. But and Soto adds to that. But you know how all these contracts end up looking. And then once you hear all the other side stories, like the wanting a suite thrown in and all these things, and he just really wanted he wanted the deal, and none of this other stuff mattered. There's talks that the Mets owner is the kind of guy that could help you invest your money, and he could turn that into $1.5 billion, but playing with that guy, and the insider trading shit that he does. So, hopefully they all get fucking locked up. hopefully in 3 years they're all getting subpoenaed from the FCC.
Yeah. I did see him. We've seen him now in the Mets uniform right there. Here's an actual picture from the.
Dude, he looks like he put on a freshman 15.
Oh, that's serious.
He did have a little gut in his ceremony today, putting it on, and it was like, dude.
Oh, he's eating good now.
But but that's the other thing, right? Like these guys who have the seasons of their lives before their walk year, not everybody's judge. A lot of these guys, I mean, come on, they have their best seasons in their walk years. I flat out say, like, just seeing him, I've only known Soto for a year. Nothing about his makeup tells me that he's I don't give a shit guy. He's not. I'm not trying to turn him into Rendon, but I see a drop off numbers wise. I mean, before the Yankees got him, and everybody's saying we need him, all these things, and I'm looking at the numbers. I know I'm a little more old school with the average. The average matters to me. But when I'm gonna be looking at his numbers, I'm like, this guy never hit over 34 home runs. He hit 274 the year before. I know he walks and all these things, but like, honestly, his numbers don't really. I mean, you're paying for a clutch bat, and as a New York and as a Yankee fan, it's really hard to find somebody who's can deliver, and like the pressure doesn't mean shit. So that is worth it alone to us, and seeing that he hit throughout the entire playoffs. I mean, when now in this pivot, I don't think it's crazy to say that if this Tucker situation can happen, and now we got a actual athletic person in left, Judge in right. I mean,
but would you guys gamble? Like, here's what I think when I hear
would be
that.
scary as fuck
that
to
would be
get
another
2 years in a row.
Yeah, it'd be like
Groundhog.
It would be Groundhog's Day for you. Like would you even be able to enjoy it? I would think at that point, if you got burnt like that, you'd be like, we'll do this again, but we got to get somebody that we're already working on a contract right away.
Well,
go ahead.
I did hear that he was interested in negotiating with the Astros at some point last year, but again, they don't tack those years on. And also, he is not a Boris client. So, I mean, this was a perfect storm of guys where, like, a guy that Boris can say, let me get you the best deal. And he has no input of saying, like, well, I want to go. I mean, I guess that's the kind of thing that hurt at first, but then makes sense at the end. Like, for the Yankees to offer him $5 million less, and I know it was like an extra 50 on the back end or with all this kind of stuff. I mean, what, like, if he didn't want to take that deal and if he doesn't want to be a part of the thing, then, and he'd rather have a suite plus tickets. I say he gets a suite plus he gets 4 premium seats every game. Like, you want all these extra things instead of playing here, with.
Can't you afford that when you're making over $50 million a year?
But that's what the Yankee spot is Jeter asked for a suite and they said no, and Judge asked for a suite and they said no.
Well, yeah, if those guys got to know. Yeah, if those guys got to know.
Like, look, this is what else we have to offer. If that doesn't mean anything to you and being here, then, like, I'll tell you this. We haven't had somebody to hate collectively outside of Altuve and the Astros in a while, so it's going to be fun just hating people. And one thing that I've picked up on Soto that I used to constantly be texting people about, from his first at-bat as a Yankee until the end, it scares the shit out of me how many times he fouls the ball off his foot. Like, at least once in at-bat. When you're like, oh. So, yes, I am hoping for him to get hurt.
Yeah, I've been through the trials with you of your ups and downs, your peaks and valleys. You've come to your senses, in retrospect now. Hannah, what was your reaction? What did you think about all this? Close this Juan Soto segment out.
I think he's still in pain a little bit. Vlad is. Juan Soto is the best player that's ever hit in front of Judge, and that probably ever will. You mentioned the word you mentioned, which caught my attention. You're exactly right. Is clutch. He's very clutch. He's the only thing that was, stepped up to the plate during the playoffs and the World Series. Jeter's
Stanton.
done it. We saw. Yeah, he was good too.
Stanton was better than Soto, so I mean, you got to give him the credit there. But
Yeah.
no.
But then I mean, I just think seeing what Judge did, that was awful. He totally he didn't hit well. I don't know if that affected his outfield play. Who drops a
100%.
ball like that in the outfield? It was unbelievable to see. But and then to wrap it up, I think it's better that the Yankees went after pitching anyway because they needed it, in my opinion. I think it'll make you a more complete ball club.
You know what? They go after pitchers. Seems like every other year. They know the market. They know what they could afford. And when it comes to these guys that they could they went and got Rodon a couple of years ago that no fan asked for. So it's like they're every couple of years they're kind of going just grabbing a guy that they think is that they could. It might be better than the market or whatever. So I'm convinced that the Fried signing was something that they were going to try to do regardless of that. So I think the Soto pivot is what we see from this point on. So, I mean, the Tucker thing is just like, wow, whoa, you mean to tell me we could find another lefty bat?
That'd be massive.
I think he's a better player than Juan Soto. And it looks like when they're talking about his contract right now for next year, it's looking in that maybe to the $500 range, but $500 million range. But you look at what Soto's getting and you look at what Tucker's probably going to get and the player Tucker's, I mean, that's a better value. That's a better gamble.
He was on an MVP run in the before he got hurt. So, and just like I said,
the Mariners. We've watched him. We've watched his entire career. As Mariners fans, he's a legit motherfucker.
But if you get to put him in left and Judge in right where he belongs, just to bring up Judge again, his pressing at the plate got so bad that even in the game that he finally broke out and hits the 2-run bomb, makes a catch against the wall, and then he still goes and drops that pop-up like that. It's all connected. So yeah, no, trust me. I mean, I can't be a non-Judge can't hit in the playoffs believer, but as a Yankee fan, I've seen it with a lot of guys where there is that year where they finally put it behind them, namely A-Rod. He never hit in the playoffs until he did, so
absolutely.
I still haven't really unpacked most of the World Series stuff, so that's why I was saying to Myron, I was like, man, this has been a rough couple of months for the Yankees. We lost the World Series, and then Soto goes to the Mets, not wanting to stay with us. So, but then you wake up one day and I think Bellinger is the guy we need to get.
I do too.
To that lefty bat. He's been wanting to be on the Yankees. I know he has up and down years, but you've seen what he could do when he has a good year, and it's really good. And also I love I love Soto. He's a pure hitter, but the Yankees can, Didi Gregorius, nobody cared about who he was. And when you have that Deadpool lefty hitter on the Yankees in front of Judge, it's almost, just as effective as having a all fields guy. So I feel like Bellinger's a guy who's, who could pull the shit out of the ball in that spot. So, or, Tucker too. That's why I'm just kind of excited to see, but we also have many holes to fill. We need first. We need either second or third. We need, we got Dominguez. He deserves to get a crack to see what he's going to be in center, and so we need an outfielder. But and now we have like 7 starters. So, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what's going on, but I'm really blown away by the trade talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys.
There's multiple guys I know. there's a lot of names out there. Like you mentioned earlier, Arenado, that's a good big name too. I mean, you could use him at third too.
I would like. They were saying that he came out with his list the day after it was reports that the Yankees weren't interested, but I was. I mean, if they're trying to unload him, and he's for free, like Bellinger's kind of seeming like he might be for free. The last report I heard was that the Yankees were trying to make Chicago retain some money. I think that's a negotiation ploy, tactic. Like they would even I would take all of his salary if we could. I mean, they're still trying to do things smart, but if you could get a guy where you're not trading some of your best prospects and he's got that kind of pedigree, and I mean, Arenado's got 3 years left. We got a 3-year window anyways. I would definitely take him at third, put Jazz at second.
Well, let's see. We had a couple comments before we move on here. Brendan said he's an above average overall player, elite bat. Everything else is below average, especially defense and base running. And Mets better hope that they can beat the Dodgers because what's it say?
It's still the Dodgers are over the Mets.
Yeah. And I'm back. If you're watching on here, did you see me slide out of the picture? It's only our third show, but I think I already pulled a hamstring. Not kidding. I had the worst fucking leg cramp. And I was listening.
You're
to you
not
guys go on
stretching
about
before the
this.
show?
Not like I used to. But let's go to a quick break while I stretch this out. 90 seconds. We'll be right back.
Mr. Buhner, will you play Pepper with me?
I can't, son. It's against the rules.
How many times have you heard that? Hi, I'm Ken Griffey Jr. When I'm not running the bases, I'm running for president. Vote for me, and I promise to erase every no Pepper sign in America.
Mr. Griffey, will you play Pepper with me?
Sure, kid. Could you help me out with some swing states?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's shoot every foot in a Pepper game in every backyard.
I think Ken Griffey is spending too much time on the field, not enough time on issues like the flat tax.
No Pepper? I say yes to Pepper.
Look, Pepper was outlawed for a reason. It tears up the turf.
You know how big this thing was? Look at this. Pepper ban, and right under there, Korean War ends.
The man don't want you to play Pepper. You gonna listen to the man?
If you outlaw Pepper, only outlaws will play Pepper.
So where does the candidate stand on real issues, like the flat tax?
I mean, if they're so smart in Washington, why don't they have a baseball team?
Baseball without Pepper is like baseball without baseballs.
Hey, anyone can champion Pepper. It takes a real man to champion the flat tax.
It's Pepper that people want. They don't care about the minimum wage, the flat tax. They want Pepper, and they want it now.
Pepper to the people, man.
Land of the free? Why can't I play Pepper?
Jefferson should have said life, liberty, Pepper in the pursuit of happiness, but it just didn't sound right. But that's what they meant to say. I know that.
And where does this moose stand on the flat tax?
And we're back, and that's just a quick reminder to register to vote in the big upcoming election. That was last month. Oh, never mind. All right. We had another comment. Some people want to talk about Sasaki. Vlad, what do you think about Roki Sasaki? I know we talked briefly about it earlier.
I mean, I just want to, at some point, one of these Japanese guys is going to not want to just join the Dodgers, right? I mean, I will say this. I'm getting sick of these Japanese players acting like the East Coast is an extra 10 hours further away.
It is from Japan.
10 hours? No, but I mean,
know.
No, but it'd be like, I got to go to Seattle. Like, it's 5 for you. It's an extra 5 hours added to your flight. Give me a break.
Did you hear all the names earlier you were mentioning about Arenado, Tucker, Bellinger? Leave some for the rest of us over here on the West Coast, especially the Mariners. You have every opportunity.
Well, I'm just throwing Arenado out there for you guys too, for anybody. I mean, but because it sounds like St. Louis is willing to eat his contract just to move him for his own, for his own peace of mind. He wants out. So, like, that's the kind of shit that Seattle needs to be getting in on. All right. What's he making? He's making like around 25 a year for the next 3 years. If they're going to eat 10 million of that each year, boom. Now you got Arenado for 3 years for 15. Still gives you room to grab maybe an Alonso or a Torres.
I can't. Listening to
Vlad. Listen to Vlad, the Yankee, especially the Vlad guy, about the guys we should get. I agree, but it's also like going to the mall with like your rich friend. That's like,
yes.
Don't get that. Let's go check that out. And you're like, no, I'm going down to Jinko's to get in the 2 for $30 jeans special.
Look, these guys are available. But I'm saying, like, Bellinger is going to cost the contract.
You're like, just ask your parents. Just ask your parents for the money. They'll give it to you. Trust me. And it's like we are literally bottom feeders when it comes to this free agency. Like, it's gonna sadly come with the biggest impact. If we make an impact, is going to come with the trade, and that's just the truth. That's just the situation. Unless some sort of Christmas miracle happens. Look, tomorrow or whenever most people are listening to this, it's Friday the 13th. Maybe something freaky will happen. But
Tucker's out of the mix because of the contract situation. But I'm just trying to think. All the trade guys are either pitchers, salary dumps, or change of scenery. I think Arenado is not you don't have to pay for him. It might cost you a little something prospect wise, but not ransom.
Yeah. Well, we got to get on his list.
Pitchers, but it's the pitchers that are the ones that I don't see the bat. But you know what? Names just keep popping up. I saw Arias name pop up. I'm like, why the hell would they trade him?
I guess everybody when how do I say this? I guess I want to go back to what you said earlier, where you're like, this is a off season unlike any other. You're right, where everybody seems to be on the table. I do agree with you on that part.
Everybody wants in. I mean, it's crazy. You watch tomorrow. There's going to be another name that I never expected to see Luis Castillo's name on the thing. To see him, I didn't have.
Hanno started all of this. Before he comes right out the gate, says, I was trying to talk about trading a Woo or trading like prospects, and Hanno was like, if I had to get rid of somebody, I guess I'd have to do Castillo. And then about 2 days later, you like put it out there in the world, I swear, and then it just happened.
Vlad, when you think about the Mariners, you have to think about the money. That's the only way you can think about the Mariners. Luis Castillo makes a lot of money. He's really good. And they could use that to go and get some more players instead of, like your club, would add to that, since they have a great pitcher. That's not how the Mariners are.
But here's the thing. That's not right because you guys aren't the Pittsburgh Pirates. You guys You guys aren't the Marlins. You guys aren't Tampa. You guys have, sure, it's a secondary market, but it's still a huge market.
It's over.
You guys, what?
It's top. It's in the top echelon. It's not in the bottom half. It's
Especially
probably like mid-pack.
By the fan base and the money spent, and you guys got 32 different jerseys that people are buying. Every color, you guys got more colorways than like Jordans, and people are buying the shit. I've been there. I go to Seattle every year. You couldn't tell me that you guys have made the playoffs once in the new millennium. So, and I saw the list. I saw that you guys are at the top of with the revenue sharing and the money that you're making on your own. You guys are in the top. So, yes, Yankee fan, rich kid, whatever you want to call it. To me, there's no reason why you guys shouldn't be saying, all right, we're adding $30 million if there's a guy that fits that you like, and be like, fuck it.
You're absolutely right. Everything you said is correct.
You guys got people taking discounts left and right. We don't forget that. we don't get discounts on anybody. You know what I mean? Like nobody comes to the Yankees and says, you know what? I like it here. I'm going to sign now for $5 million less a year. Like, so we have to overpay for everybody. So that's part of our of our budget, but like or our payroll. But like, I get it. But like for you guys are laughing off signing somebody at $25 million a year. I'm like, I don't see why you can't do that.
Because the owner doesn't want to. He sets a budget.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, for the Mariners to operate the way that makes the most sense, like Vlad's saying, it makes perfect sense, especially when you got, like you said, the skeleton of what the Mariners have and the strong backbone of the pitching. Really, the only thing that would change any of that is the change of ownership or change of ideology of the way it's ran, and that's the hard part.
There's nothing we could do. There's nothing as fans. There's nothing we could do about that stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And you look at Jerry DiPoto too. I get this. I get that he has a tough job with the budget and what they were going to spend and how they're going to spend. But he knows this, and the Mariners know this, and that's how they're going to do it. So sometimes there's the other side of this coin, which is kind of harsh to say, but like he's got to be better at, hey, we are we're not the rich kid going to the mall. We're walking into the mall with a $20 bill. How do we stretch this $20 bill? And he hasn't been very good at stretching that money. And what I mean is look at where you took that money and you put it. You put it into Mitch Garver. The year before that, what was the second baseman's name? Who I don't want to Wong. Other players that he has signed, nothing has really worked out offensively as far as where the money has went for free agency for the Mariners.
But I would say this though, like, part of me thinking, is if I was your GM or if I could be the owner, the Arozarena trade was good. That was addition.
But that was a trade.
No, but I mean, like, but still, it was an addition, a pure addition.
Mm-hmm.
A bounce back year from Julio. Like moving into the season is what I'm saying. Like if you have a Arozarena for a full year,
and he did pick up Victor. He did pick up Victor Robles, who is the best hitter in baseball in the second half, pretty much.
Right. So that's why I'm just saying, like, you guys are missing the bopper threat.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
if Alonso, I keep bringing him up because of his market. I mean, I do think he's going to go back to the Mets. I think they're just trying to make him come down to earth. But that's why I bring up Arozarena. If he's kind of free and somebody's picking up most of that payroll, that's how you get around not wanting to spend, is going around and seeing, all right, who has some potential that is, needs to get out of there. And like I said, we're going to wake up tomorrow and, half these, there's going to be a new name on the trade block tomorrow that we never would have thought is Judge is going to be on the trade block tomorrow.
Do you have one more thing to say about this, Hannah, before we go to a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk about what Dan Wilson has said?
No, go ahead.
No, I guess that means I'm going to hit this. We'll be back in 1 minute and 90 seconds. No, 1 minute and 30 seconds. 1 minute and 90 seconds. We got 4-time Gold Glove winners, 3-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger. And look, the reason why I bleached my hair back in the 2000s. What's up, Brett?
I love it. I love it. You had the hair, huh?
That was like my college look.
That was my thing. My kids still tease me about it. They said, "Dad, why don't you go bleach your hair?" I said, "Dad's getting a little old for that." I said, that was just a phase I went through. It was kind of a shtick. And I used to tell people when I bleached my hair, I said, the city expects it. So just don't worry about it. Get out of my way every 3 weeks. I had my routine.
Did you get your hair done by somebody here?
I did. No, I did. I had a young lady who would come to the ballpark, actually. And I had a barber chair. It was a hair bleaching station. And there was a couple guys on the Mariners that would get it done too. But every 3 weeks she would come in. We had a little office space off the clubhouse, and I'd get it done. So that was fun. That brings back pretty cool memories.
All right, so something we want to close this show down with is look, we talk about all this front office stuff, this trading stuff. It was very refreshing to me, Hanno, to hear from Dan Wilson down at the GM meetings. How about for you?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I expected. He's really liking the way the club is setting up. He thinks they're a contender. I mean, he's not going to go out and say, God, who are we going to get at first base? That's still a whole second base. Oh, God, we're worrying about Bliss and Demo. Yeah, I mean, doesn't that make you guys excited as fans, getting a utility guy and then Ryan Bliss doesn't show anything? He's not going to say that. And, he says, oh, we got an open door at third base. We got rid of our only third baseman in Rojas. So, yeah, it was real positive.
He was basically, we're hiring. No, I want to say, though, there was a couple of refreshing takes from him that I thought. And I'll two of them right away. One was talking about, well, he didn't have the answers on, like, are we going to be platooning? Are we going to be doing this? And he was like, yeah, it seemed to me like he was like, yeah, if that's what we have to do, that's what we want to do. But he seems like he wants to have this stable lineup, whether it is a platoon or you do have platoons or you don't. The lineup's going to try to look almost similar every game. Maybe you switch somebody out. I think he's going to get away from, and I hope he's alluding that he's going to get away from the computer making the lineup, where one day you're leading off, the next day you're hitting sixth, the next day you're hitting eighth, the next day you're hitting second. I hate that shit. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I hate it.
Yeah, and that's the way the Mariners are ran quite a bit, and the way Scott Service managed them. If guys were slumping, they get moved down. I mean, but we had a lot of guys slumping. Remember Ty France? He was all up and down, and he got a couple hits, and he's right back up the next day like clockwork, So Dan Wilson's definitely more old school, I think, and he's going to try to run it like that. But like you said, the main thing is the front office going to be giving their input, and how much of it is going to be taken by Dan Wilson.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see how that is. I think last year you just kind of you really couldn't make any changes when you had 5 weeks. You just had to be like, putting your vibe out there, bringing in Edgar Martinez, who he says, quote, but I know Gar will be there as much as he can, and he really enjoys part of it. He's alluding to like where people are like, Edgar's going to be there once in a while. He was saying like, no, he's going to be around. He wants to be around. That was good to hear. He talked about the other big thing that I really enjoyed hearing was echoing that we're hitting up the middle. We're going up the middle. They talked about JP Crawford, and he was straight up said he is at his best when he's hitting the ball up the middle, looking the other way. We've seen him the last couple of years, especially since he's been at Driveline, been this pull happy, trying to hit jacks. It feels like lots of pop-ups from JP Crawford. That's a guy like we've been pretty critical just because, of all the shortstops and up the middle guys that have been available the last few years, including, Willie Adames this year. But we had our shortstop. We had our guy. It's going to be interesting to see how JP Crawford comes out the gate this year and how Dan Wilson manages that. Scott Service definitely gave him a really long rope because he was, quote, his captain, kind of, I guess. What do you think about JP Crawford, Vlad?
I think he can't hit for shit.
I agree. He's a jag.
The minute you guys finally remember, I was be killing Ty France for 2 years on the podcast. Minute and Myron kept sticking up for him, I'm like, this guy is a bust.
Thank you.
The minute you guys got rid of him, I turned my my sights straight to J.P. Crawford, and I'm like, dude, he's next. And he's a defensive replacement, short bench guy at best.
I was defending his bat, like maybe he could figure out not his base running. His defense was good, but yes. I just felt like he was kind of a scapegoat last year out of like they just put their hand in a hat and said, we got to get rid of one of these shitty guys that are underperforming. And that was the one that they pulled out.
Hey, I'm glad to have you on here, Vlad. I'm tired of that positivity from him too. He's always so. I mean, I'm glad to have you in there.
There's guys that you do, you try to sift through, and you be like, wait, hold on, or be positive about. But there's guys that are just busts, and it's like, dude, I gotta, I mean, when I'm looking at the players, there's guys I could just tell, dude, you suck. And I'm no professional scout, but I can pass the eye test of being like, this guy can't hit, and he's never gonna hit.
He had one good year for us a couple of years ago, had some pop. I mean, just really looked like he figured it out. And then he reverted back last year and was trying to hit home runs, like Myron said. And he's just not that kind of player. And,
that shit ruins players, man.
Yep.
Yeah, they got to limit how many I know they got to limit how many batting instructors they have or how many people you listen to. To me, it just doesn't make sense with anything that you do in life. If you have 7 people telling you how to do one thing, sure, you can take bits and pieces of everything, but you got to go with the message that works. And hopefully Edgar, Kevin Seitzer, and I don't know who the other guy is, can turn them around, because this is got to be JP Crawford's like last chance. I'm sorry. I know there's a couple of years on that contract, but that's a guy that we're going to have to, or the Mariners are going to have to look to be salary dumping, because I think he's got a couple more years. I think his contract's right on with Luis Castillo's.
But that's the thing. I mean, like, if you're looking for just a glove, you could find those guys and pay them nothing. You know what I mean? So it's just like when you got a guy who you're in one of these spots who is hitting. I mean, he was hitting like what, 209?
Oh yeah, he's. I don't even want to look up his stats. It's. I mean,
dude, you could find. I could just give me 48 hours and a minivan in Venezuela. I'll find you a shortstop.
He's a fan favorite too. We got to take that into consideration, right, Myron?
Yes. They did ask him about the DH role. And of course, he did one of his. Here it is, Dan Wilson quote. Those are things we're going to continue to iron out as the offseason goes on. Yes, you're right. That's the way. You can't just come out there and just go, yeah, we don't have one. Garver was signed to be the full-time DH. The guy hit under 180 last year. You still have him, and you still have the other Mitch. And he was asked about the Mitches, and it's just like, he did it in his nice, middle America, Lake Minnetonka manners, and said, we're gonna, expect a bit more out of them, and hopefully they're gonna be better. Yeah, I mean, we're stuck. He couldn't be like, well, the reason we can't sign anybody is because of these 2 guys. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it is. They're what, about $30 million between the 2 of them. So, but look, the meetings are over. Things are going to happen, just like you said, Vlad. We're happy to be back talking about it. I'm glad we waited until the shit was over. I know we got a lot of comments, but we got to get out of here tonight. But we will get to those next show. Anything you guys want to add before I wrap this shit up?
Hopefully there's like a big move or 2 before the next time we get on.
Yeah. Good to have you here, Vlad, and have you live. It's good to see you instead of your tape delay.
Yeah. And make sure to keep your eyes glued on the screen during the commercials. Whether you watch Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, NXT, NBA, NFL. Check out the Verizon commercial. You can't miss Vlad on there. It's a great commercial. With that being said, thanks for liking, subscribing, and all of that good shit. Again, hit up at simply.core. That's at simply.core. Hit her up on Instagram. Hit her in a DM. Be like, yo, I need one of those shirts. I need the street cred for rocking the rye bread. And again, hit up in the clutch / rye bread and mustard. Promo code rye bread and mustard. Save yourself some money. With that being said, Hanno, you know what time it is. Chuck.
I laughed so hard. I love it. That was good. Thanks, Vlad. Make me laugh.